at some point in time, I used to have an intern who came to our company because he wanted to gain some experience coming from one of the top reputable universities in our home country. So this guy showed a really nice commitment. And later on, I asked him if he could join our team and work with us as an employee. So he said he was going to meet his dad somewhere else in the world. And so he went there. He met with his dad. He explored his options. And then after a couple of months, he called me and told me that he wants to meet me. So I was happy because technically speaking, I was looking forward to work with him. He was a very smart guy and a very up-to-date person with technology, with ideas and so on. And he was very dedicated during his internship. One point led to another, and to cut the story short, uh, this person told me that he wanted me as a consultant for their family business. So technically, they invested in a business where this business was in a bankruptcy, full bankruptcy. It was in debt for a couple of millions of dollars to the bank and to the initial partners. And the mission was really to refresh that business and make it alive again. The story began by, or the case began by really understanding the history of the business, which has been operating before that date for like around 15 to 20 years. They are in the production business. They have a factory, but there were a lot of problems at the country level and even at the partners level, where the company couldn't really sustain itself, and they had a lot of loans, a couple of millions of dollars, where the company couldn't sustain and they had to shut down. Now, this is the interesting part. One of the employees, who was technically a supervisor in that company, decided to take the step forward and uh, actually believe in the potential that he had on a personal level, on the potential that the company had on a business level. And he started actually looking for people, investors, who could believe in the business. And he offered the help of managing the business versus having shares in that business. So, and actually, indirectly, it's through that guy where we got to be referred to this person. And so one thing led to another, and things were nice, but they were not really well organized. So the first step was we created a full assessment of the case on all levels, like from what is their vision about the business, what is their strategy for the business to take it to another level, how could they come up from being in debt in a couple of millions of dollars up to really making it an appealing business, because any investor looking at such a scenario wouldn't be very interested, and any bank looking at such a scenario would be probably scared. So this is where we started. So we did the business plan all together. So with a new guy, a fresh young guy who was still at his very early career stage, with the other partner who was the managing partner and who initiated this mission initially. And we also met with the factory heads of departments, and we started technically digging deeper to really understand what was doing well, what was doing wrong. We structured the plan, we put the financial scenarios, and we approached a couple of banks where they refused. And then we had the very good chance to meet one of the banks who were really more human into understanding how entrepreneurship goes. They were really down to earth more and more, and they believed in that case and in the potential and the trust they could see in those people who were really believing in what they were doing. And they gave them the first loan. So this was a first good step. The second step was a little bit tougher as well, but then very rewarding. They approached one of the initial investors, one of the initial owners, who was living abroad and who indebted the company for a big number. So when he saw that, anyway, on one scenario, the case was helpless. And on the other hand, when he saw the passion in the eyes of those new partners, he decided to write off all the debts that the company owed him. And that was something I've never seen before. Somebody to write off a couple of millions of dollars in debt, that was really something magnificent to see and totally unexpected. But this is where, if you call it the law of attraction, call it whatever you want to call it, I believe in faith, and I believe when there is a good faith and when there is a goodwill, positive things start to happen. So the planning was the first step, and the second step was bringing a good part of the loan, a couple of hundreds of thousands, and then the investor has written off a big, or actually all the debt that the company owed him. So the next step was technically reorganizing internally, writing some process, some procedures, recruiting again, re-recruiting, so getting back the people who left the company, but who had a big contribution to that company initially. So this is another lesson how loyal employees really get sometimes hopefully rewarded in that scenario. So they were really, they were given the first priority to come back to the company. And the next step was building a sales team for that company to start taking it out to the public. At that time, there were no social media at all. So we used to work hard on building sales teams. And so we recruited a couple of sales people and it's very important to know that these people had nothing to do with sales before. This is something we're going to discuss a lot in other cases. So we recruited people who have some good added values, who have good values, good character. And of course, they are good into communication and so on, but they had nothing to do with the industry itself. So we had the chance to teach them all the skills they have on a personal development to gain the sales mindset, the sales skills, and then of course the technical know-how coming from the existing management to teach them about the specifications and the features of each and every type of product and service that they had. This company in less than 3 years' time had a very wonderful small sales team that was operating out there in the market. We had a CRM built specifically for them at the time where CRMs were not available. It wasn't one click away. So it was mostly of a custom-made software that was, and they were really one of the innovative people to adopt a system that was online at the time where internet was not that famous. And so really things were moving in the right direction. These people saw the value of what we were doing, and they took the business in less than 3 years to sell as a turnover the amount that they were indebted to. So if, for example, the amount was $5 million of debt, so they started selling $5 million a year. So just to put things into place for you to imagine the case. Now, this company is still up and running. The sales team, most of the sales team is still out there, and they became in a much better position, and they are more senior right now, more into managerial positions. This company, through that company, we've dealt with more than 4 or 5 different cases, either with them and other, I would say, industries that they deal with as sister companies, or referring to other companies or surrounding around them. So there is a lot to learn for me from this case. One of them is, no matter how tough situations get, if just one person, just one, could believe in the power of their company, they can do something about it. Just one person who has a good vision, who believed in their potential, could really attract the right investors. They saw this passion in his eyes. Of course, passion alone is not enough. Motivation alone is not enough. Also, he had good negotiation skills, because he could negotiate his way up from being an employee to being a manager and a partner. So this was really something interesting to see. And another lesson that I got from here is that the power of planning. Even banks, they saw a defaulting company, and one of them decided to have the courage to invest in that company. in my opinion, that did not give them a loan, they invested in them. And this is where they gained really on the long term at all levels. So having also the plan is not enough. Building the sales team and having this workforce was really out there in the market, spreading those positive vibes to really take things to another level. And believing in technology almost 20 years ago was really something very interesting. So imagine if we take these lessons and we put them all together and we apply that to your business, what could you do to your business? Could you be the next success story? Let's hope so.